Hello, dear stranger on the internet. Today I'm going to be sharing how I upscaled a brand from $29,700 and $5,000 a month all the way up to $238,731 a month in just 15 months with almost no UGC, no investors, and 90% just meta. And honestly, a big part of the reason as to why this couldn't be done in a smaller time frame is purely down to supply side issues, as you can pretty much see here and also here at the moment, where we honestly just do not have the supply and the capabilities to be scaling up much faster. So we can see it on here as well. Total sales 2,367,000, ads 1,174 with a net ROAS of 2. This is also a supplement brand, so they have a really high repeat customer rate on the subscriptions, and so this is why the ROAS may not be as high as what some brands might be aiming for, but also a lot higher than some other ones are. I'm looking at you, Rise, and a few others which do have the pleasure of having a shit ton of investors. So a few quick disclaimers before we go in. This will not be a pretty video. I will just be recording this as one long spiel. I only helped on the media buying and creative strategy side of this. I was not the only person making ads. I have my partner in crime here as well, who brought me in on this project, Ronaldo Del Duca. I did nothing on the retention side of things, and I also did nothing with organic. Now, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the mentor who really helped us here. You can see some of the big names he worked with. I'm going into the Kung Fu Panda media buying structure here, which is lever 1, how we unlocked new winning angles in lever 2, and then the secret to scaling with almost no UGC, lever 3. And finish off 3 ugly ad formats that have been absolutely printing. Now, as for me, here you can see this year to date, the top ads of the 7 ads currently running. Top 10 ads currently running and sorted by spend. I was the creator of 7 of these. So, with that out the way, let us go on to the Kung Fu Panda media buying structure. And then I will actually touch on a little bit how this mentor here helped us. So, the main thing, there's a scene in the main gist of Kung Fu Panda 1, if you haven't watched it, is he's trying to find the secret ingredient for the soup. And he goes through all this training, and he ultimately, I think he becomes a dragon warrior. And he finally comes up to his dad, who owns this little noodle restaurant, and he's like, Dad, what is the secret ingredient? And actually, to be fair, this is a point of the whole film, because he's also trying to get the magic scroll. And when he finally gets the magic scroll is empty. And he runs to his dad, and his dad is like, what was in the scroll? And he's like, oh, it's empty. And so then he asks his dad, what's the secret ingredient for the soup that makes it so special? And his dad is basically like, there is no secret ingredient. And so honestly, this is kind of how I feel like with media buying, because if you're within the Twitter circles or the DTC circles, whoever you speak to, everyone gets so obsessed with what is your media buying structure? Are you using cost caps? Are you not using cost caps? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Blah, 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 blah. And I think it's very easy for brands, especially newer brands, to really fall into this trap of what they should be doing. Should they be doing manual retargeting, not manual retargeting, etc., etc. And so my gist of this is, there is no secret ingredient. Everyone has a slightly different approach. And ultimately, the media buying structure that is going to work best for you is, one, the version that stops you cutting off ads or not using ads or not basically driving spend for ads. The whole point of the right media buying structure is to drive as much spend behind the best ads versus the worst ads and to test efficiently. That's pretty much it. Whether you're using cost caps, whether you're testing in ABO, CBO, whatever, that's all you're really trying to do. And so the reason why people try and engineer it is because sometimes Meta's going after worse audiences or worse segments or placements. Sometimes the best ads or what they believe is best ads are not getting enough spend. So, as we will see here by revealing this. So, tested out a bunch of, obviously you can see random shit. There was even awareness at one point. And also coming into the fact that not all the ads are mine. Some were from a previous agency as well that kind of did okay in the start, but that wasn't tuned too well. But we managed to reuse some of their code as well. And so in the end, the only super simple structure we're running at the moment is simply a scaling CBO and then a testing ABO. Within that testing ABO, hot tea. Nice bit of Earl Grey actually. So within that testing ABO, like to split everything out by concept. Now I know some people say you can throw 30 ads in an ad set or whatever, all this sort of thing. Yes, maybe you can, but again, I don't think it matters that much. And all I want to do is be able to compartmentalize and categorize my tests so that the data is easy to read and look at afterwards, and it's easy to iterate on based on the feedback. That, I think, is a lot more important than whatever fancy media buying structure you got going on. And so typically I will often test by angle or by concept, etc., and make variations of each. Yes, even now with Andromeda, despite what most people might say. And this just means that I can much easily see, basically, I can just see the winners of my tests a lot more easily than if I just had 30 random concepts thrown into one ad set and then tested that way. Then the winners of those will continue running and being scaled inside of prospecting, but they will also then be added into the scaling CBO. Now, the biggest issue with scaling CBOs is, again, often Meta just gets weirdly autistic about certain ads and doesn't want to let them go, and will just drive all the spend to those. And so what I typically do to solve this is we'll batch the winners monthly in an ad set. So monthly winners, like April winners, May winners, June winners, whatever, into one ad set, and then just add in a min spend on that ad set if they're not getting anything. So if you have the issue of like maybe you have 3 ad sets in CBO and only one ad set is getting all the spend, then just add some little spends, like nudge it, just guide the Meta algo rather than trying to like sledgehammer it. That's worked. This again is not the gospel. I will not say this is how you have to do it. I am in other campaigns where there's a testing CBO and a scaling CBO, and even some where it's literally just one CBO. And I do know some people still like to go super manual, or they say like if everyone's doing this, go the other route. Again, just whatever, at the smaller stage, the creative is going to be so much more important than the medium buying structure, especially in the early days. Yes, as you get way, way, way bigger, maybe you can get really fancy when you're buying and unlock a lot more scale. But I do like this because, as I think, there is no secret ingredient, and this then means that you can go ahead and put all that extra mental, like energy, bandwidth, whatever, even if you're trying to hire someone to manage for you, right? Instead of hiring them, maybe you hire someone else who can make more ads, or kind of another creator, etc. I just think it means you can save more resources for the next 2 levers, which I'll be going into in a second. So, lever 2, how we unlock new winning ads. So, let's just move this out of the way. What we have here are not 2 oblong titties. We have 2 what I want to think of as markets, right? And so I'm just gonna fucking drag this here. So, the initial winning angle for this brand was kind of, it's not the biggest TAM. Like, we even might as well reveal the actual mentor as well before I go into this in a second, because he helped a lot with this. So this here is good old Barry Hott. We slammed his ads bootcamp course, which was brilliant. Had some consulting calls with him as well, and this kind of structure was pretty much stolen from him, although he has switched to just being a single CBO kind of guy. But anyway, he really helped us think about how the Meta algo actually thinks, and then from that reverse engineer how to set things up, and also just to focus more on the creative ultimately. As you can see, he's worked with some pretty big brands as well. Dude knows what he's talking about. Anyway, so with that out of the way, we actually showed him, I believe, the winning ad or angle, or Ronaldo did anyway. And he was kind of like, okay, this is interesting. This doesn't feel like that. It's kind of a weird, smaller, like discounty market. It didn't really feel like something I could scale that hard. But it was just what was winning at the time, so we kept kind of sort of pushing that. And it was essentially like, it was kind of like a cost savings angle, because they were like basically supplement brand. It was a bit of an all-in-one solution. You can either get them separately or get them together. Kind of, you see every supplement brand like that also running it. So not crazy differentiated, not crazy unique. The main differentiator was honestly just the actual ingredients involved and the fact that people wanted those. And were often buying those separately anyway. But this only allows you to scale so much, right? Like, if you think about the different ads you can make within this, I'm just going to segment it like that. You can, even if you make them best ads and etc., make the best ads as many different formats as you can, which basically these little segments here, allowing you to turn your market into your customers. You're only going to be able to scale so much. And if you try and scale much harder, CPA is just going to start rising, because there are just not that many people to actually be talking to on the angle who are going to be convinced to go and buy, right? And so you ultimately get a little bit saturated, well, not even necessarily saturated, but you'll see your cost to acquire the customer just start to rise. So then what you want to need to do is find a bigger winning angle or bigger market, right? As this is ultimately quite small. And you can, if you're really, really small, the more niche you go, the better, right? Like, there was one winning angle for this, was particularly, it was like serving Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighters, because they have an issue with stimulants, etc., very, very niche problem essentially. That is kind of who you want to be going after first, because you're going to get the initial CPA. But again, it's going to be hard to scale, and we didn't really scale that. So what we did to unlock the new winning angles is actually speak to some of the customers, and so hopping on calls with them one-to-one. And two, really seriously coming for your reviews. And I don't mean like obviously stick it into Claude, ChatGPT, or whatever it is that you use. Run it in there, scan for everything. But also really read through them, look through them, and look at them yourself. Especially like look at what also Claude will bring up for you, right? Like it's kind of yeah, don't be too reliant on it, too blind to it, and just trust everything it says. Actually get it to present the data, and then you make the decision. And what we found is a lot of the people actually using this product were quitting caffeine, like a lot. And more reviews were coming in being like, oh my God, haven't had caffeine in ages, managed to quit, etc. So we're like, this is the anti-caffeine market is way fucking bigger than this initial discounting market that we had here. And so then we started making essentially more ads for this. Now, obviously, within this anti-caffeine market, there are also sub-markets, right? Because you've got energy drinks, you've got coffee, maybe it's caffeinated pre-workout. There are so many different levers to be pulling on. And so I'll be going into how we sort of tested that, especially the early UGC in a second. But we then just slammed hard, boom, boom, like ads from all types of formats, etc. And really what we wanted to do is find the specific, because anti-caffeine is obviously so big, we wanted to find the specific most scalable angles within that, which then, I mean, I'm not going to, do I go into it? Yeah, I'll go. So in this case, the big one that worked the best from testing, etc., were the energy drinks. And that's specific to this product. If you have a similar product, it's probably different. So I think it's fine to share. But for us, this product compared to energy drinks just slapped. And more and more inside of reviews, obviously you have a chicken and the egg scenario, right? Because if you make anti-caffeine ads, you're going to get people who quit caffeine potentially from your product. So actually just going back a little bit, when you're looking for your reviews, even if you have a tiny segment of your audience saying something, that is still potentially a huge signal if you haven't been making ads for it, which we hadn't. So let's say 1% of your ads say people manage to quit caffeine, but you haven't made any quitting caffeine ads. That's still a good signal. And so then we just started hammering on that. And that is what's really allowed this level of scale here from like Jan, was finding that angle and really hammering down and nailing down on it. Because really like the TAM of that is huge. And we are nowhere near filling up the TAM of this. Like this can and should be going all the way up to here, right? There's no reason for it not, because the TAM is so big. And yeah, so I think like you don't need, I think there's a big misconception with angles that you need like 10 or 6 or whatever. You only really need a few of these. Like I was listening to Jacob, what was it, on great guy. I haven't met him, but I really like his content on Twitter. He's got a brand, and I heard him speak on a podcast, and he was like, yeah, we only really have like 2 main angles. Maybe it was 3. That it was like we just hammer on, and we just hammer on those in every sort of way. And it really opened my eyes, because a lot of times I feel like people think that you need 6, 7, etc. You maybe just have too small of an angle, or you're not targeting it properly. But what you need is like the most profitable angles, because then once you have the most profitable angles CPA-wise, because like we could also just be going against anti-coffee, right? But CPA just one that's good. So you want the most profitable angles, and then you want to max those out, and then find the new ones and add those in. And it takes a lot of work also to get the new angles, because you need new funnels for them to adjust it, make it feel like it actually makes sense, right? Because if it's not congruent, they're not going to convert. So I think that wraps up lever 2. And so we can now go on to then, let's just move this shit out of the way. Now go on to lever 3, which is the secret to scaling with almost no UGC. And like, this is not to say we didn't test any UGC, tested like a tiny bit, maybe a few, but honestly did not need any, because any time we did, it didn't perform as well as the other shit we did. And honestly, it's a volume thing. And I know people also like slamming the influencer side of stuff for Tribe. So I think this will be interesting for any of you, because 1, it costs a lot less money. 2, it's a shit ton faster because you're not dealing with craze. And 3, we also want to launch Tribe and the influencer side of stuff for this. But if you think about it, having this as well, already as a base, as well with the Tribe stuff, is just going to allow it to scale so much faster. So the secret is honestly just ugly ass statics and founder ads, and obviously sharing what that means. We are lucky in this case that the founder is a great looking bloke, great energy, great on camera as well. And so it made it with just when the founder is speaking about the product, and they're also there is just a different energy that comes through that we really struggle to get other creators to match. Like we could almost just take us, even like it was a UGC style script for the founder. Founder runs it, creator runs it, founder almost always rips it a little bit better. And it's also because the founder was literally the avatar of the customer. Like, it's the aspirational person that the customer wants to be. So honestly, I almost feel like it was better for the brand as well, because you see this one face, it's funny as well. So there's humor, there's a lot of tongue in cheek involved with this brand. And so we slammed these super, super hard. And this is not just like, hey, I had this problem, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is just general, like, running the founder almost as a UGC creator. And then lastly, ugly statics. And I'll show you what I mean by this in a second, but I love these, especially now at the moment with AI, because you want to think about supply and demand, right? The more supply there is of something, the lower the quality is of it, and the less of an edge it has in this market. And I think at the moment with AI, the amount of like pretty or highly designed statics has just absolutely exploded from what it could have been already. And like, bear in mind, this is from a high base already. Whereas the number of people just making really plain ugly, albeit as people catch on, it's rising, but it's still not that many. The amount of people just making ugly, plain, simple statics focused purely on the copy is honestly, I would say, like here. And so I think this is where the edge is. And it's not even that it's because they're ugly, it's that because whoever's making them is focused so much more on the messaging and the copy rather than the design, that the copy just inevitably ends up being better than if you're trying to make it really pretty. And so I think with that the way, I'll give 2 examples. Now, to be clear, these examples, only one of them is an actual ad from the brand. However, they are the exact same formats and the exact ads that I use as inspiration to make those ads. And they really hammer in the point, I think. So, number 1, this stupid ass noodle ad. I honestly have no idea who Momofuku is, or if they're big, or if they're old. I just saw this, it caught my attention, I was like, I like this. Our noodles aren't cheap, except when sell buy free packs. So this is obviously a bottom of funnel ad, more focused on offers. But I turn this into a top of funnel ad, right? I literally just ripped the same format, the same shading. I switched out this product, I kept it small, so you didn't see the product initially. And then what I did, I just tested this anti-caffeine angle with a bunch of different enemies and problems. Boom, text heavy, copy, launched it. The add to carts and cost per clicks were immediately like insane, because you just don't see too many ads like this, right? It's kind of ugly, it's kind of plain. The only lever you really have is the copy. And so again, it means that you focus so much more on what you're actually saying to the customer. And so this is still, I think, like in the last 30 days, this at the moment is like the number 1 ad. This basically format. So simple, right? You would not need a graphic designer to make this. Again, angle messaging is king. Number 2, could we get a more ugly us versus them, right? I just saw this massive tweet chips and I was like, you know what? I love how basic this is that I'm going to run this. I think the only thing I added was like a green background to the master side, and I started with the enemy, then went in with the product. But again, I just went ahead, because what this allows you to do within like one ad set test is test 5 different enemies, right, for your product. Maybe you have 3, maybe you have 4. In this case, again, for the caffeine, I wanted to test like the product versus energy drinks, versus coffee, pre-workout, even against other supplements, right? Just think of any enemy possible. And then obviously you're gonna have to vary like what the points are, which is another variable that will mess up the test a little bit. But you still get good signal. And from both of these, there was a very, very clear winner, which is then the one that we decided to hammer him down, right? So it's the best way to really just hone in your angle, honing your messaging, honing who you want to be against, etc., and then being able to iterate from there. And despite that, this is still one of the top 10 spending ads, I believe, at the moment. So basic, so simple. Again, you do not need a designer. And all it means is, it's like, I think the main thing that you need to understand with design is the only point of design is to help portray the copy or the messaging in the most efficient and best way as possible. Like you wanna amp up the emotion of the copy. You wanna make the emotion easy to read, even easy to consume, easy to understand, etc. And then obviously as a pattern interrupt. And again, I think because these are so ugly, they're still kind of a pattern interrupt. They almost look like a meme. Like if you look through, what meme have you found which is prettily designed? Like if you actually just look through like the organic statics that you will see, and by organic statics I mean like organic images that just come up online that go viral. I don't know about you, but my feed, they're ugly as hell. Like they're just random screenshots and shit. They feel like the quality is often not even high, right? And so I mean that's what you really want to try to replicate with your statics. And then number 3, this is an actual ad. So I've just added the Spider-Man face to, I don't know whether he wants his face shared on this vid or not, but just keep anonymous now. So this good looking chap is actually one of the co-founders of this brand. Absolutely jacked. This is an ad that is absolutely printing. I think last 30 days, this is top 2 in spend. Super, super top of funnel, right? No mention of the product, nothing like that. Why does it work so well? Because in the copy is the founder's story with a massive pattern interrupt. It's something to do with him being out of shape is basically the first line of the copy. Which obviously, if you look at this, like, what the fuck? But this guy's so in shape. And again, one of my favorite style of ads to write. It's got that native feel. It's just an organic photo. It's almost like something that someone personal would just share on their own Facebook profile. And it means that you can just test out variations of the founder's story without the founder even needing to be on camera. And this is a founder who is good on camera, right? And it's still ripping. And so, yeah, this is... I just show this for you to just try and get a little bit more creative and try and think a little bit more about like what you want to say, and really don't get too caught up on design and formats. Like, I see so many clients will like send like, oh, look at this, so and so just made this style, can we do this? So and so just made that. Yeah, the formats are useful and the format's good, and that's why I've also given these. But really, you want to be just nailing down what you're saying, and that's all that matters. And once you can get the copy down, it's so easy to just find a style that you like, take it, rip it, stick in ChatGPT, change from copy. I'll just watching a video by Nabil Khan. I think that's how I say it. Who's absolutely crushing it, sharing this exact system where he just literally just writes in the copy in ChatGPT. He knows the idea straight away because he knows the brand or the product or the copy so well, and then you can just rip tons of statics from there. So that is all from me for today. Hope that was at all useful. I don't know if anyone would have stuck around for this long ass 21-minute video. I haven't even finished my tea, but I hope you have a cracking good day. I will be making more videos like this, pretty ugly, pretty long form, but just honestly just sharing the bare bones shit of what's actually working right now across all the clients and accounts that I'm in today. And if you have any questions, I will also get back to every single one of you because almost none of you are currently watching this. So I honestly have the time to reply and reply thoughtfully to any questions you might have. That is all from me, and I hope you have a great day.